Alrighty, guys, you read the title of this segment, you read the title of this podcast, you read the title of whatever this is, whatever platform you're listening to this on. Let me tell you a couple things up front. Number one, I am not a racing fan. Not to say that I dislike racing inherently, I just never got into it. If you guys have been watching the channel for a long time, I mentioned it once in a while. My sport is baseball, I like football, a decent bit as well, and then basketball a little bit here and there. Racing, I just never got into it as a sport. Nothing against it. A little too stressful for me. I mean, we'll talk about how that's portrayed in the film that we're going to be discussing, F1, but, just a little too stressful for me. I mean, the danger and just watching people, again, you can say the same thing about football, for example, but real people, the potential of getting hurt and whatnot, it's a little too much for me. But that being said, just wanted to put that out there. I don't watch Formula 1, I don't watch NASCAR, I don't watch any of the racing sports. So that's number one. Number two, though, I'm a big fan of Top Gun Maverick. I have said it before, we even did a review of Top Gun Maverick all the way back when that movie came out. It was a long time ago. I think one of the very first episodes of Access Blockbusters Pod, we did a review of Top Gun Maverick, and I loved it. It was one of the biggest surprises of 2022 in my eyes. I went to go see it because somebody just said, or everyone on the internet was saying, and some of my friends were saying, you just gotta go see it. And I was like, I've never seen the first Top Gun. They were like, doesn't matter, go see it. And it was one of the best theater experiences I have ever had. Just sat there, took it all in, had no expectations for it, and was blown away. And so number three, before we jump into F1, I then became a big fan of whatever Joseph Kosinski was going to do next, the director of Top Gun Maverick. Especially when Joseph Kosinski was announced to be directing basically the racing version of Top Gun Maverick. Instead of planes, instead of Top Gun, it's F1, Formula 1 racing. And that immediately had my attention. On top of the fact that you get Brad Pitt to be the lead role, and I signed me up. And the trailers looked great. We talked about the trailers throughout the past year or so, and I was very intrigued. And look, I mean, people have been saying in the comments, there's no way this movie makes the amount of money that you predict. Guys, Top Gun Maverick made so much money, and I know that, F1 is not a franchise like Top Gun was, but still, I mean, Top Gun, the amount of years between Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick, it was a lot. There was no guarantee that the nostalgia was going to be there for Top Gun Maverick. Top Gun Maverick made over $1 billion, not just because of the nostalgia, although that was a part of it, but because it was good. And it just captivated audiences. And I don't know. I know a lot of people. I have a lot of friends who are big F1 fans. This sport has a huge fan base. I think, just critical reception aside, this movie's going to make a lot of money. That's my prediction. As the movie comes out, we will see. We'll keep an eye on it as the weeks go by. Obviously, we have to keep track of Superman and Fantastic Four as well, and Jurassic World, but still, I have faith in this movie. But let's get to the movie itself. F1 the movie, starring Brad Pitt, Damson Idris, Javier Bardem, Carrie Condon, and a lot of other amazing actors as well. F1 the movie, this is going to be a non-spoiler review. First of all, we're not going to do spoilers in this review just because I would recommend, if you're watching this review and you haven't seen the movie yet, go out there and watch the movie and we can have a discussion about it in the comments if you want to talk spoilers. I usually only do spoilers for the big movies that like your Avengers Endgames or Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness or Blue Beetles, all the big movies, right? That's when I like to do the spoiler reviews. But I think for movies where, people are kind of on the fence, because generally that's, on this channel, people will come to these kinds of reviews and be like, oh, I'm kind of on the fence. I'll say, go watch the movie. Because, guys, I really liked F1. I really, really liked F1. Number one, one of the things immediately that stands out to you is the adrenaline. And that is something where at the beginning of the movie, in the very first few racing segments of this film, I was like, yeah, this is really cool. It's getting me, in the perspective of the racers, and I'm getting to see what's going on. But the first couple driving sequences, I was like, it doesn't quite have that it factor of a Top Gun Maverick, because the very first scene, and it's hard not to compare everything in this movie to Top Gun Maverick because it's the same director and same style and whatnot, but, I feel like sometimes the comparisons they have to be made. And, at the beginning of Top Gun Maverick, right, you have that opening scene with the plane where he's testing out that plane. And they're trying to ground him, right? Tom Cruise, Maverick. And it was just that set the tone. It was adrenaline pumping, and it was great. This movie, I think, took a little bit to get there. But by the end, and especially at the middle sequence, I'm not going to say what happens there, but there's a middle sequence in the movie that had me on the edge of my seat. And the way that they pace it, the way that they, from beginning to end, it's like this own sequence in the movie, within the movie has its own arc. And it took my breath away, and some of the twists and turns, no pun intended, were fantastic. And by the end of the movie, the racing sequences had just ratcheted up the tension, and I thought that, yeah, this is on par with what we saw from Top Gun Maverick. So, if nothing else, if you don't care about story, you don't care about characters, you don't care about anything else, and you just want to have a good time at the movies, I mean, sold, right? The pacing and the way that Joseph Kosinski is able to do vehicle action and maneuvers is next to none. I mean, granted, I've only seen 2 movies of his, Top Gun Maverick and F1, and they've both been amazing. I don't know what else he could do. Maybe he can do a jet ski movie or a kayaking movie or a crew. I don't know. I'm just thinking about boats. But, I don't know what he could do next. But, I mean, my goodness. It's phenomenal. So, if nothing else, it's a great just summer movie just to see the racing and the action. And I'm saying this is why I preface all of this early on in the podcast. I'm saying this as somebody who doesn't enjoy or doesn't watch, rather, or doesn't regularly watch F1 or racing sports. And I was still captivated. There were some POV shots where you get a real sense of being inside the car. A lot of just great perspective and angles and sound design. I saw it in Dolby at the AMC, and it was fantastic. So sound design as well. All of that stuff, really, really well done. On top of that, though, I think one of the strengths of this movie is actually the character work that's done. Brad Pitt's character, Sonny Hayes, you really, I mean, first of all, Brad Pitt is Brad Pitt, and he's charismatic as always, and he does a great job, because this is a role built for Brad Pitt, the kind of snarky jerk who has a heart of gold and wants to do the right thing, but also is conflicted. I mean, that's the stereotypical Brad Pitt kind of character, right? And he nails it. He nails it. He has to be, he can be arrogant when he has to be, he can be snarky when he has to be, but he can also be selfless when he has to be, selfish when he has to be. It works so well for him. This is, again, I just think if you were to build a role for Brad Pitt in a lab, this is one of them. He does a great job. Damson Idris. Now, just a sidebar for a little bit, because I know a lot of you guys who are watching this review are probably also interested in Marvel and what's been going on with Avengers Doomsday. I know that there was some concept art that seemed to indicate Damson Idris was going to be the next Black Panther. We talked about how his comments might have indicated maybe he could be the next Black Panther, T'Challa, and I mean, it's impossible for me not to have that in the back of my mind, because it's just relevant. It's just what's going on. And at the beginning, right? So Damson Idris' character, without going into detail, plays the foil to Brad Pitt, and they're teammates, and they go through their lumps and whatnot. It's kind of a tried and true trope, right? But it works really well. And at the beginning of the film, I was kind of thinking, if he were to play T'Challa ever, or if he were to play the King of Wakanda, or if he were to play Black Panther, I don't know. Don't quite see it. Granted, I know he's playing a character, and I know that this is the only thing I've really ever seen him in, but still, just the vibe didn't seem to fit. But then there was a moment towards the end where it kind of clicked for me, and I think it was just the way he was talking and the way that, the character had progressed to a certain point, that I kind of looked at him at the end and I was like, oh, I kind of see it, actually. There was, again, not going through anything in specific, in detail. Obviously, this is non-spoiler, but it's character growth, right? Characters go through their journey in the movie, and the character growth that this character goes through, Damson Idris's character, by the end of the movie, I was like, I actually, this, the version of the character at the end of the movie, I was like, I can kind of see it. So that's a whole sidebar. All that to say, I think he does a really good job playing those two different sides of the characters. Again, it's a very interesting character where he has to play foil to Brad Pitt, but also they're on the same team, and all of those conflicts, that come about with that. Javier Bardem, great as always. Carrie Condon, it's impossible for me not to hear Friday, Tony Stark's AI voice. Every time she talks, I'm like, yep, that's Tony Stark's AI. But no, she does a great job as well. Really, one of the great things about this movie is that they build a team that you're rooting for. They really invest you not just in the racing, but also in the team itself, which I think is hugely important. The interpersonal relationships between some of these characters are great as well. And, at the end of the day, I mean, with these kinds of movies where there's sports adjacent movies, or even Top Gun Maverick, it's not really a sports movie, but it has those same tropes. They're tried and true, right? They're not gonna, break the mold and do something crazy. They're not gonna really break away from those stereotypes of the underdog and rooting for these people, and they go through their trials and tribulations, and do they come out on top at the end and all that kind of stuff. And, Brad Pitt's playing the character that's past his prime. Can he do it? These are all things that we've seen before. So, it's not just purely on concept that I talk about this movie being really good. The execution has to work. And this movie really executes on that concept. Same thing with Top Gun Maverick, right? I mean, how many times have we seen this before, right? The guy has passed his prime, has to train some new recruits. I mean, guys, it's the same general premise for both of those movies. But they both execute on them really, really well. I really enjoy this movie. I'm not going to say, as of right now, this is my favorite movie of the year, but it is up there. In terms of theater experience, oh yeah, it's definitely up there. Again, I wouldn't say it was as good as my theater experience with Top Gun Maverick, even though I fully admit part of that is just because I was surprised by Top Gun Maverick, and I don't think I was expecting really good things from F1 based on what Top Gun Maverick did. So, again, I think that this movie, it really had great action, it really had great style and pace and tone, good characters, good acting. It's a great movie. I was gonna say it's a great summer movie. It doesn't have to be a summer movie. I think it's just a great movie, and I would highly recommend you go check it out, guys. Have you seen F1 the movie? Are you a fan of F1, and have you seen the movie? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. And if you're not a fan of F1 like myself, what did you think of the movie? Let me know in the comments down below.